Hello, everybody. I'm back. Hey, hope you're all doing well out there. Thanks for tuning into the show. Thanks for being here. This is, of course, Mike Adelic. I'm Mike Brancatelli, and I have returned from the great depths of the beyond. I have been summoned back to the mics. Yes, I have taken a little bit of a break. As you may have noticed, the last episode I released was a solo cast called What's Going On June 2nd. Shortly after the murder of George Floyd and the protests and riots broke out, and I kind of went off there, and it's a big, heavy, long episode. So I felt kind of like, let's just let that sit for a little bit. Let's let people get a chance to get around to that one. And sometimes I'll release episodes. Who knows how long this one's going to be? But sometimes I'll release episodes that are quite long. And my feelings on that are, well, just imagine that it's, 3 different podcasts and break them up. You don't have to listen to it all right away. All in one shot, rather. So, tell you a little bit about what I've been doing since that last episode. I've been kind of taking it easy a little bit. I've been kind of just chilling, maxing, relaxing, and acting all cool. Shooting some b-ball out by the school. Those who know. But yeah, I early on in June, shortly after I released that episode, I went to a little camping vacation to South Dakota with my girlfriend and some friends, and we drove through Nebraska, Wyoming, and went to the Badlands National Park in South Dakota, and it was really nice. Really nice to get away, to get out, to be in nature, to be amongst the wild. We saw a bison that got right up close to us in the morning. When we woke up on the drive in, we saw quite a few bisons, and then when we woke up in the morning, one just moseyed his way onto our campground area. It was a dispersed campground, so it wasn't like an official, you park your car, you get your fire pit, that kind of thing. It was dispersed. So he came and he was like, hey, this is I can be here too, right? And we were like, yeah, of course. And it was so majestic. What an elegant beast, creature. It was so wonderful to see this huge bison just slowly, he was moving slow, but he doesn't have anything to prove. He doesn't, he was just kind of hunched over and, hobbling towards us and nibbling on some things. And then maybe he was shedding his fur because he was going up along these like wooden posts and rubbing himself. So that could have been it, or marking his territory or something. But yeah, I must have got maybe 15 feet, like about 15 feet close to it. I know you shouldn't get too close to him. So I wanted to, respect his space or her space. And, or their space, whatever this bison identifies as. But yeah, it was quite the sight to see. It's almost like it looked like something out of Star Wars or something. It was like I knew this thing in front of me was real, but it was so real, it was so intense, just like brought me into this like magical moment of like, oh my God, look at this thing. And it was massive. It was about as big as the car that we drove there in, which was a Subaru Outback. And yeah, great trip. Went, that night, the night prior, there was like a thunder lightning storm kind of in the distance when we arrived at the campground, and the sun was setting, and there was this like orange and red streak in the sky as the sun was setting, and the clouds were all big and puffy and blue, like a bluish purple, black, and you could see in these big marshmallow puffballs the glowing fluorescent strikes of lightning that would take up like the whole cloud, and then sometimes there would be a bolt that would come through and another bolt that would come through, and man, I love like I love like a thunder and lightning storm. Oh, just let it pour, let it thunder, let it lightning, just bring it on. I love it. So we smoked a joint on the top of this mountain, and then that was nice, and we just kind of got a whole 360-degree view of this storm that was in the distance that was slowly approaching us. So we were like, all right, let's get out of here and have dinner and then get into our tents. And we did. And then as soon as we got into our tents, it started coming down. And just something about the sound of rain, soothing, the sound of water, really, just being near a creek or an ocean or a waterfall or just a rainy night. Some of my favorite moments in the jungle was when it rained, and it would rain at night, and thunder and lightning, and the sound of like the frogs and the everything out there, the insects, and it's peaceful. It's a good cleanse. Something that I wish happened more in Denver. I feel like I could go for a good hardcore, thunderstorm, once a week or something. And so then we went to this place, Custer State Park, and we went hiking, and we saw some longhorn sheep and goats and prairie dogs and more bison. It was great. It was wonderful. South Dakota. It's a special kind of place. Too bad those imperialist slugs had to carve their faces into that stone on the sacred grounds there, which is what the people do. The conquerors, the imperialists, the dominators, take over. So yeah, we stopped and we read the sign by the what was I suppose once called the battle at Wounded Knee. Fucking history, but it's the Wounded Knee massacre is really what it is when several hundred Lakota people were massacred by soldiers of the United States Army in 1890 and in South Dakota. So yeah, a whole lot of that was a whole lot of trickery and deception and betrayal, and yeah, just terrible, horrible suffering that does not need to occur, but that has been occurring for as long as we know. And shortly after that, I went down to Telluride for my girlfriend's birthday. We drove down to Telluride, which is famously known as a world-renowned ski resort or skiing, but just as good in the summer. It was fantastic. It was amazing. Camped, went to this amazing alpine lake. Did some paddle boarding, went to a hike, saw a waterfall, beautiful waterfall. The mountains and it's just beyond epic, just gargantuan mountains and, nice cool air and during the day and at night. Well, it got a little hot, but, it's nice that it cools down. And one night I woke up probably around it was probably 4:30 a.m. I think it was right before dawn, because I remember waking up again around dawn, and I got out of the tent to pee, and I just looked up at the sky and I was like, oh my God. It was this is This is why I paid admission to be here on Earth. to take in the magnificent splendor of the cosmos strewn out before me. And I'd seen so many stars that I hadn't seen, and or maybe I'd never seen. Usually, typically, when you're in one location, you can kind of recognize, like, all right, yeah, that's like the Big Dipper, that's Orion's Belt. Like, all right, there's Sirius. I always recognize Sirius because it's the brightest star in the sky if I'm in that hemisphere to be able to see it. And then sometimes there's like a planet visible. I'm pretty sure that maybe you could have seen Venus or Mars, or sometimes Jupiter is visible in the sky. But it was great. I mean, it was just the whole sky was just black and speckled in a orderly, seemingly chaotic but orderly like fashion. And between that and then the South Dakota sunset, orange pink hue with the lightning in the distance and the puffy clouds, like, nature has a way of really like being like, elegant and not overdoing it so much, and not, it's not like in your face with just, here's the whole thing, it's right here, and the whole sky is just gonna be a million stars everywhere. It's like just the right amount of stars to make me, stare at it in awe. Just the right amount of color by the sunset, just the right amount. It's a nice, like, elegant balance. Nature knows how to be a fantastic artist. And yeah, I've been, and so I recently listened on Audible to Eric Davis's book, High Weirdness, that I think came out last year. But I really like when authors read the books on Audible, and man, Eric does a fantastic job of reading his own book. I mean, it's fantastic. He does the Terrence McKenna impression. He does voices basically for everybody that's quoted, and he just really reads it really well. And I love to hear when the author reads the book. It's excuse me. I love to hear when the author reads the book. It just adds another extra special layer to the listening experience. I typically stay away from audiobooks if the author's not reading them. I'll just read the book. And, sometimes, I don't know why I decide to read certain books and listen to others, but I think there's something special about when the author reads the book. I really like that. So that was great. And he's exploring what, like, the weird, the 1970s, and how weird the 70s were. This time right after the idealistic, free love, hippie 60s that, the Beat generation had preceded that. And then you get to the 1970s and it's like kind of this culture is kind of like gone mainstream now. It's not just like relegated to a certain sect of people. It's sort of, there's just like weird things happening everywhere, weird cults and weird, religions and gurus and magic and ritual stuff and psychedelic stuff and science fiction stuff. Star Wars came out in the 70s, and just a lot of things happened in the 70s. And we tend to look back, I remember being a kid and just being like, oh, the 70s was like, I don't know, bell bottoms and disco. And it's like so much more than that. And Eric Davis does such a great job of talking about what the weird means, like the origin of the word weird, where it comes from. And then he explores 3 characters in the 1970s who delved into the weird: Philip K. Dick, Terrence McKenna, and Robert Anton Wilson. Now, Wilson and McKenna are 2 of my favorites. And I don't know, I didn't know too much about Philip K. Dick. But now I do, and he's a very interesting person. I have to say, I like the movies that are based off of his stories. And I think someone gave me a copy of Valis, and I just haven't gotten around to reading it. There's a lot of, I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. I think I have to be in a certain kind of mood, much like this podcast. I have to be in a certain kind of mood. This isn't the kind of show where I'm sending out like an email blast every week and being like, oh, a new episode. Like, we're going to talk to this person about this thing. And, I don't know. That's something else. That's another show. That's a different show. I hate email. I don't open emails. I get a million emails. I don't open any of them unless it's clearly, visibly from a listener. I can tell. So please send me an email. If it's like from someone that I know, or from a listener, or if it's like something important, but just these kind of generic email blast, email campaign, newsletter things. I mean, it's just I don't know. I'm not into it, and I just don't like email. I think email is an outdated concept. It's why do we, I hate when people are like, I'm talking to somebody on Facebook and they're like, oh yeah, can you email me? And I'm like, why? What's I don't understand. We got Signal, we got Facebook Messenger, we got WhatsApp, we got Discord, we got Slack. Yeah, I hate writing emails, even though I'm fantastic at them. Mainly because I understand that people hate emails, so I keep it really short and brief. I hate when I get these emails that are like, hello, fellow podcaster. It's been a while since we last connected. I'm like, what? We never connected. What are you talking about? You don't even know my name. You're saying hello, podcaster. Get out of here. Get out of here with that trash. Yeah, it's very, and like LinkedIn is like all swarming with that. Get so many messages on LinkedIn. Hey, just, reaching out, thought we could connect, unless it's from someone that I know or don't. I don't know. It's just like, talk to me like you would normally talk. Like, do people walk around like, hi, like, greetings, was looking forward to circling back on our venture to connect in a time that would be amicable for both of us. It's like, just fucking talk. Just talk how you talk. That's my preference. I don't know. I see it as another area where there's fakery. And I just am really allergic to that. And I really am just like, why bother? Why bother with all the charades and the charades and the charlatans and the, it's exhausting. Here, I'm opening up my LinkedIn right now. I have a message from someone. Always have messages on LinkedIn. Here's, hello, sir. I am a podcast promoter. No, I am podcast promoter. His name is Podcast John. Hello, sir. I am podcast promoter. Do you want promote your podcast? ? No space. If ? No space. If you give me a chance, period, under lowercase d, definitely I will make you a great podcaster in the world. I will give you top ranking, period, lowercase I. I will give you organic download listeners, subscribers, and rating in USA, UK, Japan, Singapore, SE, Sweden, Germany, Italy, Russia, Australia, Austrian, Canada, iTunes, and Spotify Play. I mean, I really want to just be like, no. No. Someone wrote, really looking forward to your posts, Mike. Eddie from verygoodcopy.com. And he put a link to his thing, I guess, hoping that I would click on it. All right, thanks. I mean, that's not so bad. Thanks, Eddie. I appreciate that. Hello, sir. How are you? There was one that I got that was quite comical. it was just so canned and just corny and lame and, All right, here it is. This guy writes to me. He goes, I have no idea who this person is. Hi, Mike. It's been too long! Exclamation point. It's been too long! How are you doing these days? Question mark. Busy? Question mark. I know I am. There's always something to do in the business world. You have to stay on top of industry trends, events, projects, clients, and investors. Today's best practices can be tomorrow's old news. The trouble is, you never seem to have enough time. You never have enough time! Exclamation point. It can be hard to juggle your existing commitments, let alone read our very compelling emails. So, I'm going to do your schedule a favor. I'm going to only send you, Mike, the emails that you really want. Just click one of the links below to curate your startup socials content. Dude, you already failed. This is hilarious. I'm going to only send you, Mike, the emails you really want. Oh, really? Okay. You failed already. So it's just, I don't know. I'm just so happy that I don't exist in the business world. I don't know. I just can't do it. I can't do the whole song and dance. What are we doing if we're spending the majority of our lives going to work and you can't be who you really truly are in your true authentic self? What are we doing? We're just LARPing. We're just live action role playing like humanity or like society. Hey, let's play this thing called society. And like, it's people listening to this show will understand what I'm saying. A lot of people that aren't in the realm of being exposed to this kind of content are like, well, what do you mean? You got to go to work and, you got to do the thing. And, there's a certain way to a place and a time. And it's like, dude, it just contributes to the fakery of the illusion that we're all generating. People talk about this thing called the Matrix. We're living in the Matrix, man. The Matrix is a documentary, okay, bro? And it's like, yeah, but like we're all in on it. Like we're all contributing to it. Like there's, sure there's, dark forces out there that are using black magic to keep people in trances. Sure, there's people that go to the woods and, talk to owls, giant owls, and set fires and laugh maniacally. And I was there at Bohemian Grove. Alex Jones snug in the Bohemian Grove with John Ronson. I have the documents, folks. My Jones is a little rusty. But there's, of course, there's always going to be that shit going on. But we're all, we're all deciding, we're all deciding, we're all choosing, we're all complicit. We're all partaking in the perpetuation, in the ongoing continuation of life as we know it to be in our lifetimes. It's yeah. I think it's one of the biggest viruses, you could say. You could call it. One of the biggest illnesses, I think you can call it, is the illness or the virus of fakery. My girlfriend had a great post about this. Follow her at Venture Beyond. She's a life coach. She'll be on the podcast soon. We recorded one. We're going to record another. But she had a Groot. She had a Groot. She had a pet Groot. She traveled in space with Groot and the other Guardians. But she had a great post about this, about pseudo community, a group that values niceness and civility over authenticity and truth. And then, she goes on to write about that. And if you want to check that out, it's I Venture Beyond is her handle on Instagram. I Venture Beyond. Venture Beyond. And so, there's such, and I've heard Chris Ryan talk about this too, and other people. I've heard other people, speak to this. In America, it's different than other countries. In other countries, there's this just kind of different attitude. In America, everything is overly manufactured and fabricated to give the illusion that there's civility and niceness happening. The amount of time someone says like, oh, thank you. Oh yeah, no, it's okay, cool. All right, yeah, no, yeah. Thank you. Oh, do you guys need anything? Okay. You guys still working on that? Yeah, I am. Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, yes, please. There's just this over display. Whereas I've heard Chris talk about that in Spain, like it's just like that's not how it is over there. People are just kind of like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. Again, thanks, I guess. It's not, next time you're out and you're around people, just see how many times someone says thank you. I always like cringe when I'm around someone that's like really aggressively overdoing it. Oh, I'm so sorry, but like I just wanted to, and I know I'm doing a female voice, but I feel like it, in a lot of the times that I've been witness to these kinds of things, like it's been a female voice or it's been a female. So, an example would be something like, oh, sorry, I don't mean to intrude, but I just wanted to reach over here so I can, get this box of Captain Crunch. Sorry, thank you, sorry, thank you. And it's like, all right, just get the fucking thing, But, even, and it extends to this level of this charade that we all put on, these I used to say these masks that we all put on. We're all wearing masks. You put on the mask to go to work, but now quite literally. And you have a lot of people that they want you to do. They want you to comply. They want you to go along. It's like, we're doing it for the greater good. We're angry at the people that don't respect the wearing the masks because we're doing it for the greater good, and you're a bad person, and I'm gonna change your mind, and I'm gonna change who you are, and I'm gonna, it's like, where is that coming from? Where is that coming from? I think that is one of the biggest and I'm searching for the word and whether to call it a problem, an issue, but people wanting to change other people, and the people, there's something, I don't know if I would call it noble, because it's not necessarily some high gracious act. But there's something really powerful and that I respect and that is 100% all of our rights to do, to just say, no. 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 Someone says move and you say, no, I don't want to move. And then they say, what are they going to say? Look, can you, if they're like, hey, look, can you please move? I'm trying to get around you and I'd like to. Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe that sounds good. Oh, you got to move. This is my right to. And then it's like, well, now I'm not going to. Does this make sense? What I'm saying here is like, I think it's extreme. It's an extremely powerful and it's extremely empowering, I think would be the right word, to really just do what you want and be who you want to be. I mean, I see a lot of people suffering in the world because they're just not doing that. And even worse, they think they're doing that. You know, like, what do you mean? I'm doing my thing. It's like they don't even know. They don't even know the deeper layer. You know, they gotta do 5 dried grams in silent. 5 dried grams in silent darkness. McKenna, cyborg, robot. They got to do, you know, I mean, you know, people, you know, it's great. Yeah. Fucking, you know, mainstream psychedelics and get people, hey, grandma, grandpa, it's cool to microdose now. Woohoo. Yeah. Take a little bit and go crush those Excel spreadsheets. I'm so efficient on a microdose of LSD. My boss thinks I'm cool and I think I'm cool and I'm working like a slave, but I'm putting in these numbers in this Excel spreadsheet and everything is groovy, baby. It's no measure of health to be adjusted to a sick society. And I think we live in a profoundly sick society that we are co-conspirators in creating. You know, what's the grand conspiracy? That like there's this evil group, and yeah, sure, there's probably a couple, but they're not, you know, it's not like they have a total domination of in the entire planet. We all do it. We are the conspiracy. We're the conspiracy. We're the conspirators. You know, and it's like, I mean, I was on this Instagram account that I follow, Lucid Vibe Radio, medicine for the masses. Click below to download the station app for free and listen. So I guess they're a podcast or something, or a radio show. Yeah, Lucid Vibe Radio. Medicine for the masses. Well, I am glad that I am not drinking your medicine. Because, I mean, you know, fuck, man. You know, there's so many people. There's so many supposedly quote unquote woke, spiritual, conscious, you know, whatever, medicine people, whatever you want to call them. There's a lot of fucking people out there that are in these like supposedly open-minded, open-hearted, open soul, you know, whatever you want to call them, crowds. I equate it with like being free, you know, being a free, autonomous individual. But a lot of these people don't seem to really connect to the truth of what they are supposedly saying that they represent or are interested in. For example, this post here, which I think they deleted my comment. I mean, that's kind of lame. All I did was I put three laughing hysterically faces and 3 puke faces. But they wrote, they have a post with Biden 2020, a picture of Joe Biden. I mean, you know, I'm going to get to it. Okay. And they go on to explain like, look, he's not a perfect person, but here's what he plans to do. Eliminate private prisons, abolish the death penalty, increase taxes for the top 1% of wealthy Americans. First 2 years of college free, impose tax on carbon emissions, ban sale of assault weapons, raise federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. If you agree this is a progressive platform for 2021 to 2024, consider voting for Joe. How about no, Lucid Vibe Radio? I think you need to get a little more lucid and vibe a little higher. Your vibratory frequencies are still emanating at a lower quality. In my opinion, in my humble opinion. Biden is not Hillary Clinton. He has his own baggage. but it's not nearly as controversial as her history. Yeah, if you call murdering over 100 people, stealing resources, extracting resources from foreign countries, and possible ties to sex trafficking and pedophilia, controversial. I mean, come on, Jesus Christ. How long has Biden been in politics for? Biden is the literal representation of the old guard establishment beltway beast. And it doesn't, I'm not going to, one of the reasons why I left part of the problem, my old show, because I don't care about the minutia of the details of the inner workings of the political system. We could sit here and we could squabble back and forth all day about whose policies worked and what blah, 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 blah. I mean, he or she starts off this post by saying, this is an imperfect person, but here's what he plans to do. Here's what he plans to do. Let me tell you something, folks. People lie. Like, politicians lie. If there's any group of people in this world that is the equivalency to a powerful manipulator, magician, wizard, it is the politician. Not all of them are good at it. Trump is phenomenal at it. Obama was unbelievable at it. That's why they became president. That's why they got voted into the presidency, because of their ability to reconstruct the thoughts and ideas in your minds, because of the oration skills, the talking, the way with words, the energy, the language, the symbols, the whole kit and caboodle, for lack of a better word. This is powerful, propagandistic, persuasive. This is what these people do. This is what politics is. If you think these are normal people who are just sitting around at a table and being like, we gotta figure out a way to end these private prison systems. How are we gonna do it? Let's do it. Oh, we got a team and they're running the numbers no. Their whole job is to distort reality, to augment perception, to manipulate, persuade, to put you into a hypnotic trance, to get you on board. These are the greatest salesmen, the greatest magicians that live in our time right now. It's like, it blows my mind. It completely blows my mind that you think that they're anything other than that. And I mean, the entire concept, this is the main. I wonder if I should keep going on about this is what he plans to do. First of all, eliminate private prisons. Okay, Biden was one of the proponents and one of the writers of the Rave Act. That it was this. If you don't know about it, I think it's so Biden. I think he was one of the first people who introduced legislation that that would essentially ban drug checking, drug testing, and I think it was in the early 2000s that the Rave Act went into effect. And this is, you know, in the way that I think it was, the Rave Act was, excuse me, it I guess it didn't receive enough support at first, but then a similar law, the Illicit Drug Anti-Proliferation Act, still colloquially referred to as the Rave Act, was sponsored by Biden and was passed as an attachment to the Amber Alert bill in 2003. I'm reading this by Mike Margulies, past podcast guest on Lucid News. Lucid News, a Lucid I like. So, and he says, you know, if I were governor of my state or the mayor of my town, I would be passing new ordinances relating to stiff criminal penalties for anyone who holds a rave. The promoter, the guy who owns the building, anyone. I would put the son of a gun in jail. I would change the law, said Biden during a 2001 Senate hearing. There's no doubt about where these raves are, in the middle of the desert. Arrest the promoter. Find the rationale unrelated to drugs. Find a rationale unrelated to drugs. Arrest the son of a gun. Put him in jail. It's in the desert. He's referring to Burning Man, by the way. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, I mean, as Mitchell Gomez said on this show, the executive director of DanceSafe, you know, talked all about how this bullshit about harm reduction stuff, you know, and having water is like would open up like a venue to Rave Act prosecution. I mean, so yeah. So he's going to end private prisons, but he's going to throw the sons of guns in jail that go to raves and take drugs. They're taking drugs at raves. You know, this stuff is always made to be so complex, right? And why? Why is that? Well, the more complex it is, the more the average person isn't going to pay attention. The more complexity that you have, the more boring that, you know, if you look at like what politicians wear, how they talk, and I'm not talking about how they talk when they want to get elected. They talk differently when they want to get elected. You know, Obama, when he wanted to get elected or when he's giving a speech, he was amazing. He was the best I've ever seen. You know, these aren't the red states and the blue states. These are the United States, you know, and he was phenomenal. And then, you know, when he was president, he was like, well, you know, we're looking into that at this time, but it does show that some of the tactics we used after the war did show that we did torture some folks, and you know, we made some mistakes. I mean, what the fuck? We made some mistakes. Whoops, we tortured some folks. Oh, we dropped a drone bomb on a wedding and killed a bunch of people. Oh, we murdered all these innocent people. Oh, whoops, collateral damage. You know, it's. I mean, any person that puts any, like, if you are, you know, if we really want to see real, like, and that's why I question even the notion. I was going to say, if we really want to see real radical change, real fundamental change, because we haven't had that. The last president that was actually a president was John F. Kennedy, and he was murdered by forces within our own government. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why he was murdered. You know, I mean, we had this post World War II, New America, you know, the building up of, we had all this machinery and all this manufacturing for the war efforts, and it's like, well, what are you gonna do with all that? Well, it's like, well, let's build America, and everybody, the banks needed a reason to sell people, they need a product to sell. So it's like, hey, everybody should own a home. We'll give out loans. We'll get people in debt. And just like, everybody have a home. Everybody gets a car. Everybody gets this. The American dream, it's this big, marketing campaign, essentially. And, the Cold War, quote unquote, the Cold War, the Russia's, the communist scare. Oh, yeah, it's like, of course, when you build, this is what Dwight D. Eisenhower said in his speech when he was leaving his presidency, his farewell address. He was saying, look, like, we have built up such a crazy machine here, this military industrial complex. And he was addressing the people saying, don't let this thing take over and be the government. And that's exactly what's happened. Ever since Kennedy was assassinated, Kennedy was elected shortly after Eisenhower, he was the president right after Eisenhower, rather, and then murdered shortly after that in 1963. Because he wanted to do things that were according to the Constitution and the government, but it was too late. The FBI was out of hand. The CIA was running the show. It was way too late. All of these big systems that we had built up to fight in World War II stayed. And so we haven't had a real president since that. We haven't had like I don't even want to say a real president, but we haven't had a functioning government. I mean, the founders knew this. They didn't think that this, it was like it was a good idea, right? It's just like anything. I mean, I was mentioning Burning Man before. It's like Burning Man was probably amazing. Maybe I'll speak to my own experience. Like the first year that I went to Coachella, 2011, I was like, this is great. And then every year after wasn't as great. Now, was it just because it was like my experience, because I already experienced it, so it wasn't as new and novel and whatever, maybe. But it was also because it got kind of lame, just like everything does. There's something new, there's something exciting, a new product, a new service, a new device, a new technology, and it's exciting and it's cool, and we're like, wow, look at this is amazing. And then after a while, it just becomes pretty commonplace, kind of bland, and not as interesting. And that happens with everything. I mean, in 1984, Apple ran a advertisement for Mac, or was it for Mac? Yeah, the Macintosh computer, which is like their famous ad with like the 1984 and the girl's running in with this hammer, and she throws it at the big brother guy at the screen, and it's like, you'll see why this, I think it's IBM, right? So like Apple was competing against IBM, and they're like, you'll see why this year 1984 won't be like 1984. And it was like, Mac, it's Apple, it's the savior, it's the new thing, the new kid on the block. It's fresh, it's cool, it's hip, it's new, it's rebellious, it's interesting, it's different. It's not this stuffy old IBM, thing. And now it's like that Apple's just the standard. It's just the standard. It's not really that exciting, and it's not like, it just is. And it's a little boring, actually, in my opinion. So this whole notion of that we must vote for, if you don't vote, it's like heresy. Well, that's the reason why we got Trump. All right. So, yeah, Trump's, he's not that great. He's a buffoon. He's ridiculous. He's absurd. He's says some fucked up shit. But look, Obama was no better. Obama was no better. Bush was no better. Clinton was no better. The Bush before him was no better. Bush Sr., Reagan, no better. All of the guys that preceded him, who the fuck? Jimmy Carter, Gerald Ford, Nixon, Lyndon Johnson. I mean, come on. Why are we keep? It's just, and I have to say, I think it's just because we like we like the drama, we like the game. It's either that we like the drama and we like the game, or that the average person can't see beyond the 3x5 card of allowable opinion, thought, and expression that is deemed appropriate for civil society. It's like, well, you got to vote for Biden because, otherwise, it's going to be trouble. Oh, yeah. Explain that to me. How's it going to be trouble? What's going to happen? Well, we'll get 4 more years of Trump. Okay. And I mean, what other, I mean, like there has been no fundamental radical shift in the way in which we accept the rule of power and the rule of law to be in our world. And that's what I'm interested in. That is why I don't consent to the dominators' game rules. They have constructed these game rules, and we act like we don't have a say in determining what gets to be done and what doesn't get to be done. And we absolutely have a say. You have the most important say. You have the right to say, no, I don't want to take part in this. I would rather prefer to do other things. It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, why are you living your life dependent upon who's sitting in this stupid house? I mean, the laws are laws. The military-industrial, alphabet agency apparatus runs the show. It's, there's very minor, like, it's almost like they're all Doritos. They're just different flavors. Okay. But I just I don't know. I think a lot of people hear that and they will argue back and say, yeah, but since Trump's been president, he's given rise to these anti-Semitic racist organizations, and he's incited them, and the whole thing, this whole thing, and blah blah blah. It's like, I mean, you can spin a web any way you want. And the media, the levers of power and influence in our society is operating at a level that the average person, like, we can't possibly hitch a ride on this speeding boat that's just going by. The technology is too powerful and too advanced. They have all the guns and all the weapons, the military might, the intelligence apparatus. Like, it's too far gone beyond any of us being able to hop on and pull the levers and do anything real is what I'm saying, right? It's like, back to this post, Lucid Vibe Radio. Abolish the death penalty, increase taxes for the top 1% of wealthy Americans. First 2 years of college, free. Ah, hey, free. I guess everybody, free. Totally free. Huh. What do you know? Free. Isn't that nice? Free. I mean, we just say things. Like, people just say things. Well, yeah, in Amsterdam, they have free college. It's like, no, it's not fucking free. Nothing's free. It's not free unless a company like is having a promotion or something and they give you something and they don't want anything in return. They're like, oh, wow, this is free. Someone gives you something that you didn't have before and you didn't have to contribute anything into the production or manufacturing of that thing, then yeah, that's free for you. But to say that the college is free, no, it's just college will be taxpayer funded. I mean, that's, it's just like, do we want to increase the most inefficient, most aggressive, most absurd construct that has ever plagued humanity, which is the government? Do we want to fund that organization that will come out and say, well, looks like I guess we tortured some folks, and what do you know? Oh man, September 10th, 2001. Looks like we had I don't know, we lost like, what is it, $3 trillion? Yeah, I just don't know where it is. I can't find it. So whoops a daisy. Like, these are the people that are gonna provide the free stuff. I mean, come on, wake up out of this delusion that other people are going to take care of you. It's one of the most frustrating things for me. I can not tolerate it, but I understand people who are out in the world living, whatever lives that normal, I guess, lives or whatever. But people that are supposedly medicine for the masses, people that are, psychedelic minded people, like the fact that you would give your power away to somebody else to tell you what to do. I had my friend Jason Grachanek on the show recently. Episode will be coming out soon. He was on episode 78, I believe. We talked about ayahuasca. He's a ayahuasquero, tobacco. He's got a website, nicotinarustica.org, and and we had a great conversation. He was talking to me about the I forget which group, but I think he was saying, that most, and you'll hear it on the episode when it comes out, but most indigenous people, when the imperial people, when the colonizers came, they'd say, well, let us talk to the person who's in charge here. Who's the one that speaks for you? And I think he referenced like a particular group and a person, I forget what it is, but the indigenous person said, what do you mean? Every man and woman here is a manifester of their own destiny. There is no representative. There is no person in charge. I mean, that's like a scary thought for a lot of people. Oh, no one's in charge. I got to be in charge now. And then who's going to protect me against the other people that... Well, I don't know. I mean, what happens when you take away, when you disempower a bunch of people, when you neuter a bunch of people, and then you set them loose into the wilderness? It's going to be hard. But this is where we're at. So it's like, we either keep pulling the insanity lever and just going, well, I'm familiar with this. I'm used to this. I guess let's just do this again. We either keep acting out the same theater, we either keep acting out the same drama, or we decide to do something completely different. Radically different. Ron Paul used to say, you get these aren't debates, and he's someone that came through in 2008 and again in 2012 that shattered the matrix. It was like they would go to Ron Paul and he would be like, oh yeah, we need the government to tell us what to do. Oh, they got to keep, heroin illegal. I bet, if heroin in South Carolina, he was like, if we made heroin legal, I bet everyone would be how many people would be putting heroin in? I bet nobody would, but no, we need the government to protect us and tell us what to do. And then the theater erupted in applause and whatever that fucking Tool robot's name was like, oh, well, I never thought heroin would get an applause here in South Carolina. Ha, 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 ha. It's like, nah, no. no. Sanity and freedom got an applause. Sanity and freedom. And we are, another reason why I took a little bit of a break from this show is just because it's just, this is just such an insane time to be alive. Like I was riding my bike earlier before, and someone had a little thing on their lawn, and it said Black Lives Matter and love is love, and then it said science is real. Like what? When did we start worshiping all of these little jingles that were, I think there's a better word than jingle, but all these little slogans, all these little, it's almost like that's who people are now. Like nobody can critically think in detailed nuance and like dive to the depths of questioning their own beliefs and who they think they are and why they think they're here, and reaching the going beyond the limits and stretching the fabric of their reality into unknown territory, and then coming back and then doing it again and then coming back and then piecing all of those little nuggets that you brought back with you to try and paint some kind of complex web of a picture, to then exchange that with someone else and they give you their web and you're like, whoa, look at this crazy web, and wow, it's so intricate and there's so much to it and it's so complex, and wow, there's so much that I don't understand, and there's so much that you don't understand, and I gave you something. It's like, where is that? It's like we're all just these like drones that are just like, science is real. Trump's a Nazi. Science is real. Conspiracy theories are fake, and you're dumb. And wear a mask. I mean, it's like, it's amazing. It's amazing to see the dark sorcery, the magical trance that has infused everybody, and everybody puppets these things and parrots these things, and they think it's coming from themselves. And I would contest that I highly doubt that many of the people that are running around that you'll hear on Twitter or that you'll see in life that are saying these things actually have a thought out opinion, have actually looked into and read books, read papers, read multiple ones, and not just from the left, but from the middle and the right and the center and the far right and the far left and the all whatever, just all over the place. What's the argument for that? What's the argument against that? Why does this person believe that? Why does this person believe that? Is it because they're dumb? Have we reduced it down to the fact that just people are just dumb? That it's just like, well, this person and the totality of their entire lived experience and every single sensory input data that has been, fluctuating through their vibratory beingness for all of their lives. Well, there can't be one element of intelligence in there. They're just dumb. Yeah, sometimes people do dumb things. Most of the time, I'd say people do dumb things because they're fucking attached to some other bullshit ideology. Like the bunch of stupid white people singing some fucking song for Trump or whatever that I saw on Twitter. I mean, Jesus Christ, get a life, get a fucking life. That's your thing. You're gonna walk around and be like, yeah, Trump, yeah, he's great. It's like, what? What? Why? You care about the president? Like, why? What's wrong with you? I mean, the idea that this is like a nation is like laughable. It is the United States of America. The politicians always play to that. the tradition, the legacy. Remember a time when we fought for our freedoms. People died so you could vote. Yeah, and people fucking died because of voting. You know, I mean, it wasn't this idea that there's these sacred, eternal, heavenly principles. You must vote and you must participate. And it's like, no, you can say fuck you to everybody and create your own thing where you are with the people that you like and just make a life that's cooler and stop stressing about this bullshit fabricated facade of what we're trying to call civilization that's fake plastic trees being sold back to us and told that it's going to make us feel like we're whole and complete and full of love. Come on. I don't know any other, it's just, I can't help but just laugh. It's just laughable. It's laughable that you would, that psychedelic, spiritual, woke, conscious people, whatever, first of all, number one, get riled up about Trump. Oh, yeah, did you hear what he said? What a buffoon. It's like, all right, I get it. I had Shane Moss on the show. Like, he, mentioned like, oh, yeah, I hate that guy, whatever, But he's a comedian. Like, he's a professional stand-up comedian. So it's like a great source of material, to get involved in. But I mean, like, for average people, and especially I don't even know what to call the indigo children, the crystal light brigade, the love and light brigade. Come to the paradise where everything is love and light, and check your privilege, and I mean, I feel like I'm doing like an Alex Jones like bit right now, but I mean, it's like, come on, man. Like the main sort of function, I would say, that I try and live my life by is all right, if I'm not gonna worry about anything that's outside of my control, and if I'm in a situation that's not really my thing, I'm gonna not be a part of it, or I'm gonna express myself, or I'm but to fight against, we gotta fight against. Everything that we fight against persists. War on terror, more terror. War on drugs, more drugs. Anti-racism? I don't know. I mean, probably more racism. Probably, because you're going to have people that are going to be like, well, no, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what they're saying. But it's like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And it's like the do-gooder. The do-gooder mentality. If everybody would just live their lives the way that they want to live them, and I really, truly, I can't express this enough. Fuck the world. Fuck society. Fuck your job. Fuck everything. Fuck your family. Fuck your kids. Fuck it all. All right, maybe you have to take those into consideration. But start living your fucking life for you. What do you when you wake up in the morning and there's something that's oh, I really don't want to do that. Don't do it. Or there's people that you're meeting and it's hey, how are you? Fine. How are you? Don't do that. Someone's hey, what do you think of, I kind of think, no, tell them what you think. Tell them what you think. Why are we, I used to say this on some other shows, and I guess I kind of thought it was a little clever. Maybe it's not so clever, but it's this whole thing about there's fake news out there. There's fake information. It's yeah, you're doing it. We are all participating in the creation of the fake world. The fake news is coming from us, from inside of us. Every interaction that we show up where we're not genuine, every interaction that we have where we're not in truth, every single moment that we tell little lies, that we do little deceptions, that we rationalize, well, I guess I could, maybe, I don't know, I can, yeah, I think I should probably do that for this. It's no. If the world would be a much better place if everybody stopped giving giving a shit about what other people think and just start living their lives truly for themselves. Not trying to be nice, not trying to do the right thing, just being who you really, truly are. I mean, all of the fucking conflict that we have in the world is an outside representation of the inside worlds that we're bringing out, that we're creating in this reality generation creation machine. We are pumping and dumping our psycho-spiritual garbage and our trash into the exterior world, and then we're getting mad about it. Oh my God, look at that. Do you see that? That's fucking fucked up. Well, you put it there. Stop putting it there. I've said this on the show before too. You're perpetuating, you're participating and perpetuating a system that keeps you down, oppressed, muddled, muted, in conflict, in depression and anxiety, or you are liberating yourself every opportunity that you get to do so. I'm not sitting here saying like look at me, I'm a totally free, liberated person. I experience none of the things that I am talking about. Yeah, of course I do. Because it's a moment-to-moment thing. I mean, and as Chris Ryan has said before, it's like we live in a zoo. And I accept that fact. It's like, yes, I understand. I mean, I think it's more of like a factory farm, which sounds a little scary, but that's that's closer to the truth. It's closer to the truth. I think that if more and more people just simply decided like, I am just not going to I'm not going to pay my taxes. I'm not going to, I'm not going to vote. In fact, I'm going to be vocal about not voting because the two-party system charade and even the other parties that are involved. I know some people will say, oh, there's some good, libertarian candidates. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. If you really feel grabbed to vote, vote for a third party. That's what I would say. And then people would be like, oh, well, then Trump's gonna win. Hopefully he'll die in office. I don't know. He's old and decrepit, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because again, nothing really core, fundamental, and radical has ever changed. The last time that we had real radical change was in 1776. Or prior to that. I mean, that's the kind of change that's needed, that's necessary. We're not going to like start fixing this corroded, broken, overused, overworked, outdated, obsolete, fucking, 1966 Ford fucking Pinto. It's the fucking thing is, it's done. It's done. The America, or the idea of America that like our parents grew up with, or if you have boomer parents, like that's gone. Like that doesn't exist. That's a fucking charade. That's a dream. That's buy your little house and go to your little job and shut the fuck up and just pull a lever for your team every couple years and fucking, say things like you think you know what you're talking about because there's 7 stations on the network and they're all controlled by the same people and they're telling you, I mean, take a lot of psychedelics. Don't just microdose. Don't, take a fuck ton of psychedelics. Take a lot. Do a lot. Do big doses. Just fucking do them. Just get them and slam them in your face and fucking do them. Well, what about setting? Yeah, well, figure it out. Be a responsible individual. Figure it out. Okay? Like, take your life back. Take your power back. Start making decisions that you think is going to be good for you. And don't be such a fucking idiot. Don't be such a dependent idiot that just reads headlines on Twitter or whatever, or sees posts on Instagram and goes, oh yeah, I'll tell you what I think about this. Yeah, and people could say like, oh, this is focusing on the negative or fear mongering or whatever, but it's like, no, this is how it is. And alternatively to that, I would say also, that's why I've had a little bit of a break from the podcast, because I've just been living my life. Like I've detached a little bit from and if you notice on this show, I'm not really talking about like the policy details and things. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that we live under an aggressive ruling force of elites who shape and control our reality with high-level sorcery, and do so in every arena, because the army with all the guns, the ones in charge, the ruling elites, the military, industrial, pharmaceutical, agricultural. This is Charles Eisenstein says, I've heard him say this a couple times, but he's right. It's like the military, industrial, pharmaceutical, agricultural, brainwashing, indoctrination, educational, prison, war on drugs complex is so out of fucking control. And they have their little paws in everywhere, and they set the precedent. They set the tone. They set the standards to which everybody else plays the game according to. If you play the game according, if whoever best plays the game according to the standards set by the rulers with all the weapons in charge, then they're the ones that are rewarded. And they get little consolation prize. Here's your little reward. Now go away. Now leave us alone and let us continue our world domination. And I'm blown away when supposedly conscious, woke, psychedelic type people are like, oh, you gotta vote for Biden. Oh, come on, you gotta pull the because we can't have. It's like it doesn't fucking matter. This whole thing is fucked. This whole thing is fucked. Okay? Like, that's where we're at. We need a real, radical, fundamental change. We need civil disobedience. We need people opting out. We need people creating appealing alternatives that break the law. The law is not moral. The law is just some things that powerful people get together, develop to keep themselves at an advantage. If whatever, I don't know, if Elon Musk gets like busted for having LSD, you think he's going to do any jail time? It's like the law for the elites is way different. They, if they break the law, they pay a fine. They pay the price to break the law. If you could look at it that way too, just being an ordinary person. If you want to drive over the speed limit sucks, right? I think it's stupid. I think it's dumb. There's statistics that prove that that there's less accidents on the Autobahn in Germany, where there's no speed limit, than in other applicable areas or other comparable areas in the United States, for example. I forget which ones that they made exactly, but it's like this all of this stuff comes from fear. It's a fear, and we got to control, and fear, and we got to control. And it's like, are you afraid? Are you afraid? Are you really afraid? All right, great. Give us your power. All right, we're going to take that power. We're going to do the right thing. We're going to change these things. We're going to make this. We're going to do this. We're going to have this. And then they get in power, and they do like some symbolic gestures and a little bit of some things just to appease people. It's all about, you have to, as Noam Chomsky says, have these necessary illusions in a democracy for the power elites to function. It's like you want to give people enough freedom where you want to have enough control where people still think that they're free, and enough, give them just enough so they're not like, storming the gates with pitchforks and torches. Yeah, some great Lysander Spooner quotes, great anarchist Lysander Spooner. Those who are capable of tyranny are capable of perjury to sustain it. A man is no less a slave because he is allowed to choose a new master once in a term of years. Yeah. Yeah, and there's the great tale of the slave that I think I've talked about on this show before. But it's like the story goes, you're a slave on a plantation, the master's cruel, he beats you, whips you, tortures you, and then there's like 9 stages, and it progressively gets better until the final stage where the master says, like, yeah, you can go and you can work for anybody and you can live anywhere and you can do anything, but I still get a cut of your earnings. And it's like, okay, well, at what stage? I think it's Robert Nozick, or Nisbet. I always get those two confused. Who did this experiment? It's like, at what point is this anything more than a tale of a slave? It's like, it's always the tale of a slave. It's just there's just different degrees of slavery, and there's so many people in this world that are really hyped about a lot of things that are going on right now that really want to see change, but you can't make a change. You can't change something with the same. What is that Einstein, I think, quote where he says, like, you can't make a change with the same consciousness that created it. So it's like, you can't change the system within the system that is the system, right? It's like, there's like these incremental changes, if we could just get the right guy in, if we could just get the right policies in, it's like never going to happen. Like the only thing that's going to happen, there's only 2 scenarios that I could see. And Daniel Schmachtenberger talks about this, where he says, when you have the world as we know it today is a world of rivalrous games and exponential technology. And there's one outcome when you have rivalrous games and exponential tech: self-termination, self-destruction. The other alternative is we think of other games that we can play. Maybe a wide range of diverse games that don't necessarily involve cutthroat rivalry. And maybe, just maybe, we can get enough people doing deep inner healing work that they can wake up to the true power that they possess and start living and walking in the world as liberated, empowered individuals that are autonomous and that are the manifestors of their own destiny and the livers of their own free will. And maybe we can learn how to learn a little bit of biomimicry, learn from nature, learn from the chaotic, destructive, organized, harmonic balance that nature is. It's beautiful, but it's terrifying. It's magnificent, it's awe-inspiring, but it's also dangerous and risky. But it works. It's an ecology. It's got diverse amounts of life that make up its presence, and we are not separate from it. We are not separate from nature. We're only meant to think that we are. Every single person alive is the manifester of their own reality, the manifester of their own destiny. No rulers, no representatives, no masters. As long as we have these things, slavery will continue to persist. And around we go, spinning on the wheel, same old song and dance, devil in a new dress, until we consume ourselves alive, the planet and this entire reality. To have rulers is to live in fear, surrendering freedom for control, always surrendering more freedom for control, safety, security. Take more of my liberty, take more of my freedom, give me more security, protect me. Keep me safe. come up with new plans and programs and new, how many Band-Aids are we going to put on this gaping wound? We're going to fucking collapse. But humanity cannot be controlled. We cannot be controlled because nature cannot be controlled. The control of nature is the destruction of the planet, and we are a part of nature. Beautiful and chaotic, dangerous and magnificent. We must look to nature. We must return to harmony. And, we are not separate. These are not separate things. And I mean, this is radical. But I'm not interested in voting for Joe Biden. Kill yourself. Seriously, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. And I everybody has their experiences that lead them to, thinking in certain ways. It's like people that are going to get this are going to get this. People that aren't whatever. But it pains me almost sometimes to be sitting around talking with someone and be like, yeah, but, it's like these concessions, these rationalizations. It's like, no. I was born in this earth to be a free human being and to live out the life that I want to create according to my own vision and my own will. I don't know why you're here. But if you're here to, run around and, attach yourself to different kinds of ideologies and teams and pull levers and call places and hold signs and, beg other people for freedom and forgiveness and, all that other kind of stuff, it's like, man, like, and you might be like, well, then what do we do? What's the plan? Just more and more people just start disengaging. And then with that disengagement, we start talking to each other. We start being like, all right, so we're disengaging. We're saying no. We're not paying our taxes. We're not voting. We're not buying processed, foods. We're not going to doctors to, we're not worshiping at the monolithic tower of the eye of the monopoly medical system. That like psychedelics like wants to be a part of so badly. Like, oh yeah, like let's get psychedelics on the medical field. Yeah, I mean, sure, whatever, fine. It's not for me, but I'm sure it could help some people. But it's like you're still plugging in. You're still plugging into the matrix. You're still, pandering to fools and to dominators. There's no plants, no trees, no animals on this earth that says, oh, please, let us have a system that we create that will govern our growth, our development, and our behavior. No, they're just simply living in the magic of the mystery. And I think for so many of us, that's horrifying. But what's going to happen? I don't know. Let's see. Let's find out. And that's so terrifying for a lot of people. So many people, if you think about the standard average American life, it's like, you got it all laid out for you. You're born, you're given a social security number, you do the, crying and the breastfeeding and then you go to the preschool and then you go to the kindergarten and then you go to the first grade and then the grade school and then the middle school and then the high school and then the college and then maybe you travel or maybe you do something and then you go into the workforce and then you work and then you get a job and then you get a promotion and then you get married and then you have kids and then you get a house and then it's like, okay, like is there any other flavor besides vanilla? Do you guys have chocolate chip cookie dough with salted caramel and Oreo chunks with whipped cream and a cherry on top? Can I have that? That sounds pretty damn good. And it boggles my mind that people who are psychedelic, spiritual, conscious people, we got to come up with a word for this. Woke people don't to me. There's the psychedelic experience is an experience of liberation. It is an unfolding into the diversity and the novelty of the cosmic connected field of consciousness that we all subjectively partake in. As an unfolding into non-duality. Is a transcending of the, limited, constrained, compacted program of this particular virtual reality meat suit. And to come back from that experience and be like, oh, well, you got to vote for Biden. What? Fuck out of here, man. What losers out there are taking 5 grams of mushrooms and then coming back from their journeys and being like, yeah, I think you got to vote for Biden. What? How about vote for yourself? Vote for yourself. Vote for yourself and stop. I like this analogy of it's like, there's 2 wolves and they're one of them takes over and then the boy's like, well, which one takes over? It's like, well, the one that you kept feeding. If we keep feeding this thing, this programmed architecture, this matrix of dark sorcery and control, we keep feeding it with our energy and our attention and our power. And there's other things that we could be feeding. If we simply disengage, yeah, sure, you'll have fucking, boomer idiots and other people who are still plugged into the system, keep voting and keep, doing the thing. But we're over here creating something different. And, George Carlin has that whole bit about how, people complain because he doesn't vote. And he's like, well, they'll say like, well, if you don't vote, you can't complain. He said, and he flips it. Yeah, here it is. It's one of George Carlin, by the way. If you haven't, I think this came from his special in '92 called "Jammin' in New York," where he just explodes like a fucking rocket onto the stage, talking about doing jokes about the Iraq War and all this stuff. The first one, by the way. But this is his little bit about why I don't vote. And like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Carlin, great comedian. Yeah, I mean Carlin is I guess a great comedian, but he's more than a comedian, especially in his later years. I mean, he was always a wordsmith. He's more of a magician and sort of a seer, a visionary, and a philosopher than like just a joke guy, So that's why I love him. And let's listen to this little bit by him.
Something you might have noticed I don't complain about. Politicians. Everybody complains about politicians. Everybody says they suck. Yeah! Well, where do people think these politicians come from? They don't fall out of the sky. They don't pass through a membrane from another reality. They come from American parents and American families, American homes, American schools, American churches, American businesses, and American universities, and they're elected by American citizens. This is the best we can do, folks. This is what we have to offer. It's what our system produces. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have selfish, ignorant citizens, you're going to get selfish, ignorant leaders. And term limits ain't going to do you any good. You're just going to wind up with a brand new bunch of selfish, ignorant Americans. So maybe it's not the politicians who suck. Maybe something else sucks around here, like the public. Yeah, the public sucks. There's a nice campaign slogan for somebody.
The public
sucks. Fuck hope. Fuck hope. Because if it's really just the fault of these politicians, then where are all the other bright people of conscience? Where are all the bright, honest, intelligent Americans ready to step in and save the nation and lead the way? We don't have people like that in this country. Everybody's at the mall, scratching his ass, picking his nose, taking his credit card out of his fanny pack and buying a pair of sneakers with lights in them. So I have solved this little political dilemma for myself in a very simple way. On Election Day, I stay home. I don't vote. Fuck them. Fuck them. I don't vote. Two reasons I don't vote. First of all, it's meaningless. This country was bought and sold and paid for a long time ago. The shit they shuffle around every 4 years.
He's doing like a little jerk off.
Because I believe if you vote, you have no right to complain. People like to twist that around. I know. They say, well, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. But where's the logic in that? If you vote and you elect dishonest, incompetent people, and they get into office and screw everything up, well, you are responsible for what they have done. You caused the problem. You voted them in. You have no right to complain. I, on the other hand, who did not vote, who, in fact, did not even leave the house on election day, am in no way responsible for what these people have done and have every right to complain as loud as I want about the mess you created that I had nothing to do with. So I know that a little later on this year, you're going to have another one of those really swell presidential elections that you like so much. You'll enjoy yourselves. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure as soon as the election is over, your country will improve immediately. As for me, I'll be home on that day doing essentially the same thing as you. The only difference is when I get finished masturbating, I'm going to have a little something to show for it, folks.
Incredible and amazing. I mean, like it's almost like people have amnesia or something too. It's like, well, this election counts. Like this time it matters. It's the same shit, same fucking shit. We've been dealing with the same. Like this is Carlin in '92. I mean, God, what would he say now? Yeah, I saw this Instagram post by a guy I follow, Chaka Bars, I think his name is. Chaka Zulu. And Chaka Bars is his handle. But he posted this thing, and it was like people at a protest holding up signs, and it said, and it was for after the Rodney King beating, again in '92. So one of the guys in the crowd says, "Same shit, different year," and it's like, yeah. It's 28 years ago. And, a bunch of black people holding up signs, like we demand justice. I mean, what is that even? Like, is that even good enough? Like for people to, oh yeah, these cops, they did something fucked up and they killed someone. So we demand justice. They need to be taken care of. It's like, all right, well, maybe we should like eliminate the cause of this. And you have like, abolish the police, going around and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but like, we can't just like completely, we're at a phase right now where you can't just rip the Band-Aid off. The wound is going to rip open and start gushing out. So we need to like, put the wound with the Band-Aids, multiple Band-Aids on it in like some warm water and let it soak, and then, maybe get some hydrogen peroxide or alcohol and kind of clean it around and loosen that Band-Aid off a little bit, and, have a solution for when the Band-Aid comes off. You start to maybe sew it up with some stitches or put some Neosporin in there, put a little wrap, some kind of a wrap around it. It's like, we can't just abolish the police and have nothing. We're not ready for that yet. I know we're not ready for that yet, because, this show would be the number one show in the world if we were ready for that. little toot of my own horn. But really, I mean, people are not, these ideas, the ideas of freedom and liberty, they're not just these like, antiquated 1700s, ideas that get wrapped up in constitutional republicanism. It has nothing to do with that. These are ideas going back to the natives, to the indigenous, to the people who were living off the land and in the land and in harmony with the land. Yeah, in their tribes and in their, things, and without, such a hierarchy. And, you had the Iroquois Council of the Grandmothers, and there's a multiple different ways to do things. And really, that's really what I would like to see. We look at this, the United States, like the problem with the U.S. is the U, and like, let's get rid of the U. Let's just have the S and see what happens. But no, that's not going to happen, because power that big doesn't just give power away. When was the last time you had like a bully that holds you upside down every day and steals your lunch money, and one day just says, I guess it's like, I guess I'm going to not do that anymore. Here's some money. Like, I can't think of a good analogy, but it's like, absolute power, and that's what we have, is this like absolute tyrannical power. It's not going to just be like, yeah, this will be a better way for, it's because that's the thing. I mean, all these issues that we face, you hear people screaming about this post about Biden that I was reading about before, is like ending the private prison system and tax the wealthiest 1% and free college. It's like, no, you're just making government bigger. You're just making the bully bigger. Like, and it's, that this system is not going to just say, because it's not, that's what the point that I was getting at. It's not about what's the best way to arrange society. What's the best way for people to live free, in harmony, and with peace and prosperity, and to really drink from the fountain of the soul of their most aliveness. It's not about that. It's about control, and it's about domination, and it's about giving people just enough so that they feel somewhat satisfied, and not, waking up with a boot literally on their neck every day in a prison camp, so they feel free enough to do some of the simple things that we all enjoy, like going for walks, going for hikes, going to a park, going to the movie, whatever. I guess you can't do that now, but gathering with people, and and I can't help but think that this whole like wear a mask and this whole thing is another form of control, to silence people, to, you can't really read people's facial cues. You look at people, you don't really know who they are, what they're up to, or, it otherizes people. It creates more fear, more division, more separation. And then you just have, a bunch of idiots, and I just reduce them to idiots. You just have people running around acting like a bunch of idiots, parroting things that they hear on headlines, on mainstream media news and other places, and saying things like, well, science is real. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the definitiveness. It's like we would think that like the internet would be this great liberator, this great information where people can, do their own research and read and communicate and discuss ideas and digest and think, and yeah, it's interesting. But really it's just like a shouting match, everywhere you go. And it's like whoever has the loudest voices, whoever has the most clever slogans, whoever, can think of a clever little song or a kitschy little tune to parrot their little platitudes. And the intricacy, the nuance, the complexity is lost. And if there's ever a time when we need more of an understanding of what this gooey web of meat 3D reality is, it's like we need that the nuanced, complex, and like with a loosening up of this like decisive finitude. Science is real. Okay. Like what does that mean? And why are you saying that? And what is real? I mean, Rupert Sheldrake read a great book, The Science Delusion, that was retitled Science Set Free, the American title, because they're scared of calling it The Science Delusion. But every arena has its dogmas. Every arena has has its cathedrals and its temples and its, requests by its patrons to worship its protocols and procedures, and becomes a limited, narrow-minded ideological dogma. So I think that, I really, if there's any viewpoint that I stand with the most, it's more of the viewpoint of the the one of them, like the people that lived on this land before the imperial colonizers came. Maybe we could learn a little bit from those ideas and from those values. And a lot of that is, we have to confront a lot of fear and go into a lot of fear, because a lot of that way of living requires, fierce independence and, of course, egalitarianism, which is like, oh my God, you can't, if libertarian, I thought you were a libertarian. Now you're talking about egalitarianism. It's like, it's just basically the principle of like sharing and caring and being a part of a community. And, if you choose to do so, I mean, if there's anything that I think is the most moral, upstanding thing that we could all do, is just to really have the freedom to choose what we want to voluntarily participate in, and not necessarily be forced into or mandated to participate or worship any of these, ways of being or these systems. So, I think that if and again, it goes back to this thing of like, well, I mean, do we really want what it takes to do what it takes for real radical fundamental change? And I would say that most people probably don't, and that's why that they are unwilling to venture outside of that little sandbox, that little playpen of allowable thought, opinion, and expression, and just stick within that kind of two-party system, binary divide, and live there because it's comfortable, it's familiar. It also doesn't require you to be fiercely independent and self-reliant. And you don't have to, you don't really have to do much except for like, fart your opinion out on social media and then go and fucking fill in a box or push a button or whatever. I've never voted in a national election. I never will. I think, if anything, voting on local issues can do something. But on the national stage, no. This is just a beast that is far out of our hands, and the only way that we have a chance is to stop feeding it. I think is the only way. Really just stop giving it fuel, stop giving it energy, stop giving it, and that comes in the form of our time and our attention and our money. And this person in the post, they're going to be phone banking for Joe Biden. I mean, fuck, get a life, Jesus Christ! What are you doing? Oh, we're gonna win. We got to defeat the evil Trump. Trump is the same as every other president that we've ever had. Anybody that occupies that position of power, I mean, like they're and it's really he's like the like the Wizard of Oz. They have like the great and all powerful Oz that's like in the front, and it's like, I am the Oz, and like the little guy is behind there. It's like Trump is kind of like that charade. He's kind of like the front man, the showman, the distraction, the distractor in chief, I would say. To distract us away from the fact that all these other crazy, terrible things are being done from a group of people that don't have to run, that don't have to be elected, and that just get to do whatever they want. Essentially, do whatever they want, and do whatever they want with a lot of technology that's like 40 years more advanced than what the standard person has available to them. And that's what a lot of this stuff is about. It's not about the best way to organize society. It's not about the best way to make people happy. It's not about it's not about this. It's about competing with China because they're gonna be the world exporter of the new technology and facial recognition and this kind of thing. And it's like we can't allow that. We need to have that. So it's just this. You vote. If you participate in the status quo mainstream dominator games, you're part of the problem. And it's like, come on, like, do you want radical fundamental change, or do you want to just kind of like keep fucking dumping your trash into the ocean and then complaining about it? Because that's where we're headed. It's just like it's just gonna continue to be what we have now, just more and more, and probably worse and worse and worse, until one day, we all just blow ourselves to smithereens. We just completely decimate the planet. We completely decimate what it means to be a free, autonomous human being, and we just give rise to a crony, corporate, oligarchic empire of technocratic dominator elites that have the public so entranced in a spell that they're willing to, literally give their humanity away to be cyborgs, and just to keep functioning in this cog in the machine game. I don't know. I kind of want to wake up and play a new game, but that's me. I'm kind of just down to just say, I'm kind of down to say, fuck this, and let's do things differently. Let's focus on like enjoying our lives, not giving power to psychopaths, not trusting institutions that have never provided anything for anybody, and that just spew out the same old garbage every 4 years, every 8 years. And for some reason, people think that it's going to be different this time. I don't know why. But yeah. And I'm really sick of like, psychedelic type people and conscious spiritual people who are believers, faithful, loyal, ardent, manifesting, generating, creating, and participating oppression and tyranny by accepting the rules of the game and participating in the game's functions. Fuck the game. Fuck the politicians. Live for yourself. Be self-reliant. Opt out. Say no. Engage in civil disobedience. Take a stand. And let's change things for real, and not just sit around and, make concessions about, why one psychopath is better than the other psychopath. Why, one oppressive, tyrannical, crazy system is slightly better than the other one. It's like, let's get out of the machine. Let's get back to nature. Let's drink plants. Let's eat plants. Let's eat fungi. And let's explore the inner reaches of outer space and the outer reaches of inner space. And together, in the complex multitude of diversity and novelty that kind of liberation unleashes, a great spontaneous collaborations, many collaborations, and peer-connected, supported functions will occur, because that's what we do. Spontaneous organization, creative collaboration, cooperation. We humans are really good at doing that, and we don't need masters, and we don't need rulers, and we don't need these bullshit, lying, psychopathic, parasitic, pedophilic, politician predators taking our energy and our time and controlling our lives and our minds and causing us to live in dis-ease, stealing away everything that was once free and natural and available and abundant to all of us and selling it back to us in commodified, commercialized packaging and products. And, we're used to the world being this way, but this is just one version of reality. It doesn't have to be this way. There's a lot of creative, talented, passionate, and artistic people out there who I believe through the proper awakening, through healing, through liberation, through empowerment, and through journeying could come to see that we have everything we ever need and we ever want right in front of us. And all it takes is a little cooperation, a little respect, a little negotiation, and a willingness to step into an area that there's no guarantee, there's no safety net. What's going to happen? I don't know. Let's build it as we go. Let's create something new. Let's not write the future for ourselves with such bland, complacency. Let's really take a radical risk, because what the fuck is the point of living? What, just so you could have like a burrito and watch a movie? I mean, there's more to life. We can really get to it. We can really get to the core, but we need to start thinking radically. We need radical thinking that goes beyond. And if you think you're going to like vote for Joe Biden, just don't. Okay? Just don't. And, oh yeah, but what do we do? Don't. And just live your life and work on creating the kinds of things that you want to see in the world. Be the thing that you want to see. And other people will show up spontaneously, creatively, serendipitously, synchronistically. Doors will appear where there were only walls before, and we will all walk through them together, hand in hand, walking each other home, creating the kind of world that the liberated, free-thinking, conscious, self-empowered, self-reliant, artistic people that enjoy love and living and fun and ease and leave the world of the anxiety-ridden, fear-programmed matrix, dominator, control, murderous, fear-mongering, war-porn paradigm behind. We're heading into a shift, and there will be two splits in two different worlds. And let's participate in creating this new one, and let the people that are going to remain in the old one will remain in the old one, but a new one is emerging. And the time is here. It is now. It is happening. We just need to not fall for the traps and the distractions that are part of the tentacles of the manipulative, sorcerous, oligarchic status quo. A lot of this stuff is. It's easy to look at and say, well, yeah, this is the right thing, and this is what's the organization? Who the people? What's the intentions? What's going on here? Totally detach. And I think that's the only way. The slaves who were building the pyramids for the pharaohs, they if they could only just been like, wait a second, there's more of us than there are of them. Why don't we just not do this? It's a mind virus. It's a disease of the mind. Fear can make you do so many things. Fear can control you. Fear can turn you inside out. Fear can cause diseases inside of you. Fear can keep your life small and in prison. But when you're living in abundance and love, you are free. no matter what. This stuff is going on. We're not going to change the world and everyone's going to sing hand in hand in a utopia. But for the portion of us, I believe that there's a portion of us that can live in a similar way to that. But we have to totally disengage from the dominator class games, dominator class system, from the old, decaying, obsolete, broken, not broken, it was made that way, evil empire. And create an empire of love and abundance. I believe it's possible. It's totally possible. So, there's your podcast. That's my podcast. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, you know what to do. Go on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and review. You don't have to write a review, but if you do, I love it. I always love the reviews. Thank you so much to all the people that leave them. I will read them if you would like me to. I definitely really enjoy when people say really nice things about the show. Someone recently left, Max Q. I started listening a few months ago, and I enjoyed all the shows. I have heard Mike is a wonderful podcaster, and he has some entertaining guests, great for your commute or just relaxing at home, 10 out of 10. Great show, great host. Mike has an incredible voice and a natural ability to synthesize complex ideas in an easy-to-understand way. His conversations are organic and fun to listen to. Maze 7179. Deep thoughts and sacred laughs. Mike Brancatelli is one of my favorite voices within this space. Affable, wise, hilarious, and comforting. His podcast episodes make you feel... Oh, whoops. I skipped that. So grateful. You're the best. Thank you. Okay, great. Well, yeah. If you do feel that way, go ahead. And if you don't, send me a message. Message me on Instagram at mikeadelic_podcast. On Facebook, Mike Brancatelli. Or, go to the Mikeadelic page. Message me on there. Send me an email. mikeadelicpod, Pod, @gmail.com, or you can go to my website. There's a contact form on there, and you can send me a message that way. I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Recently, someone left a comment on a YouTube video that was like kind of critical, and I was like, great. I like to hear that, because it gives me opportunity to know what you're thinking and how maybe I'm short-sighted or something, or maybe I missed something, So, someone left something and they were like, oh, you sound ignorant or whatever. And I was like, oh, well, thank you for your feedback. I appreciate that. People always talk about how the comment sections are so bad. It's like, I love the comment sections because, someone will come out and they'll say something, aggressive and nasty or whatever. And I'm just like, hey, thanks for the feedback. I really appreciate that. Can you please explain a little bit more? And the guy actually replied. He's like, hey, I'm sorry, I was a little bit angry there, but this is what I mean. And I was like, oh, great. Wow, you make some good points. I appreciate you saying that. That's good feedback. So open to the feedback. Please message me. Let me know. Email me. And again, if you love the show, if you like this stuff, just go onto Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever. Leave a 5-star rating. It really helps the show. I think we have 283. It'd be great to get the 300. Just saying. It'd be great to get the 300. It really helps the show. It helps boost. If the most help that happens is when a lot of people leave reviews in a short period of time, because then it shoots the podcast up in the rankings and then more people can find it. So if you like the things that I'm talking about, the stuff that I talked about on the last show, then you can go ahead and you can do that, and that'll help the show tremendously. Or you can tell people about it. Shakedown Shan, shout out to you. Thank you for the kind words that you said, spreading the podcast and telling people about it. That's another good way. Share it, tag your friends who you think would enjoy it, and that kind of stuff. You know what to do when you like things. If you want to go a step further, you can go to patreon.com/MikeBrank. On there, we have bonus episodes on Patreon. We have we have the Inner Sanctum Discord chat that you get access to when you become a certain level of patronage, and other things that are in the works. New t-shirt designs, holographic stickers coming, So a lot of cool, fun stuff that I'm going to be giving out to my patron crowd. So if you want to be a part of that, you can sign up and join, and you start getting bonuses at $5 a month, but you can support the show for as little as $1 a month. Of course, mikebrank.com. You guys know where to go. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, peace. All right, and this show is sponsored by hempbombs.com. If you want CBD stuff, go to hempbombs.com. Put in the code Mike15 at checkout. Get 15% off. Also sponsored by Student Loan Tutor. Student Loan Tutor is amazing. Zach Geist, who we had on the program not too long ago, is a financial wizard, helping people get out of debt, helping people get their lives back from the evil, predatory, black magic, sorceress debt paradigm. Zach is a wizard of white light and energy that is shining the way for people to see through this matrix of control, liberating them, getting them out of debt slavery, and freeing them and liberating them. And he does an amazing job. He's helped me tremendously. I can't recommend Zach Geist and his podcast Zeitgeist and his company Student Loan Tutor enough. They're doing amazing things, reducing people's debts from large sums all the way down to little settlements, and then getting people on credit restoration and things like that. It's just it's incredible what he's doing. So go to studentloantutor.com, check that out. And I think it's if you have any kind of student loan debt, contact him, talk with him. I'm sure they'll see if you qualify, and if you do, then you'll work with him. And it's unlike any other experience I've ever had in my life. It's been a blessing from the Lord himself, from God above. It's been such a joy to have the debts that had once ripped me down to be freed from and liberated from. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Studentloantutor.com. Go check that out. Tell them you heard it on Mikeadelic. And hempbombs.com. Mike15, 15% off CBD products. Till next time. Peace.